The title of your keynote for the HR Tech Conference is Facilitating Big Changes in Work. How would you say HR technology is supporting the changes we've been seeing since the pandemic?
Well, there's been kind of a big shift, and the report is coming out tomorrow. My report's coming out tomorrow, and then the keynote is tomorrow too. The big shift, of course, is that every company is worried about supporting employees in this hybrid, home, remote, disconnected, connected, safe work experience that is, becoming clearer day by day. And it requires scheduling, self-service, mobile access, employees under stress, employees working long hours, employees working on video conferences for, on and on and on. And so there's this massive effort in organizations to design a better employee experience, or design a new employee experience, maybe is the word. And the HR tools are being transformed to try to be relevant to that. Most HR systems are built to capture data or automate transactions, or maybe, attract candidates or assess people, or, survey people. And the design point for HR technology a decade ago was for HR. It was technology for HR. That's why it was called HR technology. Well, it really isn't technology for HR anymore. It's now technology for employees that HR uses. And so you could redesign the whole, we could rename the whole space employee tech, but nobody's done that yet. Maybe I'll try to give that a shot, or work tech, it's often called. But it isn't just work tech, because it's not just tools for collaborating and creating documents. It's also identifying somebody's skills, identifying somebody's needs, giving people career opportunities, giving people advice on how they could be more productive, on how they could be healthier, how they could get more rest, looking at performance and measuring performance, and helping people schedule their time so that they don't waste their time on things that aren't important, teaching managers how to be better coaches and leaders. So all of these things that were sort of non-technology related topics that HR did are now part of the technology environment.
To hear the full interview and more, click the link above or in the description below.
The second big thing is that I think the big trend in the HR tech market is what I call creator tools or design tools. If you want to build, for example, an employee portal that's a single place for employees to go to get all the things they need to do their jobs, to get their hours tracked, to book their vacation, get their benefits and all that, that's a big project. You can't buy that off the shelf. Now you can go to Towers Watson, you can get a great solution for them. You can turn on Workday, you can get Oracle, and they have pieces of it, but you're going to spend most of your time designing it. And so what tools are going to use to design it? Well, none of the HR tech vendors really built design tools. They built tools to use, but not tools to create. Mm-hmm. So the big shoe that dropped this year is Microsoft. Microsoft announced Viva, which is an off-the-shelf set of applications, 4 applications initially, one for employee portal and communications, one for analytics and well-being, one for learning, and one for topic and index and expertise finding. But what Microsoft really is a development environment to build things. So people that use Viva can, first of all, take advantage of all the work they've already done in IT with various Microsoft technologies, but now they can build things, they can extend it, they can add things to it, they can reconfigure it. And so the vendors in the market, Oracle, Workday, SuccessFactors, ADP, ServiceNow, all the other vendors are finding they have to give HR people very, very extensive tools to design and configure things, not just to implement them. And that's a different kind of a product. And I think it's kind of fun. It's kind of great because the HR profession during the pandemic became very creative. We used to talk about getting a seat at the table, and maybe the HR people weren't getting the credibility or the budget they needed. Well, last year, HR people got involved in everything. They got involved in remote work and safety and health and reliability of the business, and redesigning the jobs to deal with customers who don't want to come in the office anymore. And we need to deal with remote work or remote distribution of products and services through logistics. 40% of Americans changed jobs last year. So HR people were very, very busy building things, and they used the technology they had, and the tools they used the most were the ones that were easiest to reconfigure and design, not the ones that came out of the box and only did one thing. So that's a big change in the market too. And then I think the third thing that's transforming the market is AI. AI was a fascinating scientific discussion 3 or 4 years ago. Nobody knew what it was. We were talking about, trying to define it. Now it's just there. Most of these systems have conversational interfaces. You can talk to them. You can type a chatbot, and the chatbot understands what you're saying. They'll record the history of your activity and then give you feedback on that. They'll recommend content to you based on what you're doing in learning or in onboarding or other activities. And so these are very smart systems now. The HR systems, we dreamed about them being smart 4 or 5 years ago. They actually are smart. And so, companies are buying software that's collecting a lot of data about activity and employee behavior, and they're building this intelligence database more and more and more. And so the HR buyers have to be more and more conscious of the data and how it's being used, and what is the vendor's maturity in its chatbots or whatever services it's providing. And then the other one I would just add is that the whole domain of case management, knowledge management, process, workflow management was kind of a sideline. People didn't really, it was kind of a consulting project that somebody did in IT, and maybe a little bit of it got used in HR. It's now a big part of HR's problem is, as a result of all of these transformations in the way people work, we need a place for people to go for self-service. And employee self-service, I mean, there was a company 25 years ago that was trying to sell employee portals. They ended up getting acquired because nobody ever bought their software. Now everybody wants one. Everybody's building one. Everybody would like to buy one and try to play with it. So that part of the space has gotten very hot. And then I think recruiting is going to be really big this year because the job market's heating up. The learning industry is on fire. People are buying all sorts of learning tools because there's so much need to reskill people. And the employee engagement market is really hot. Workday just acquired Peakon for $750 million. Qualtrics spun out of SAP and is now worth $20 billion. Glint is a big part of Microsoft's strategy. So a lot of these things that I remember sort of exploring over the last 4 or 5 years as great ideas from small companies that seemed like they would eventually pick up, they've all become popular in a sense.
When you and I think we last talked around the middle of last year, and I was asking you about employee experience platforms, which is a term that I believe you coined.
Yeah.
And at the time you said it was evolving, not quite in ways you expected. It was getting to be a massive market, but there were a lot of little players, but except for maybe ServiceNow, there wasn't anyone that had like one core platform where, that was a do-it-all platform. How would you answer the same question today?
Well, I think listen, I was writing about it 2 years ago and people were kind of not paying too much attention. I think the Microsoft announcement where they formally call Viva an employee experience platform, they branded it that way, is validating the fact that there is an entire category of software in this space. The problem with the market before is that everybody would say their product was used for employee experience, but they wouldn't call it employee experience platform. Now people know I need some place to put everything.
Mhm.
So whether it be ServiceNow or the Workday People Experience or Microsoft Viva or this new thing that's coming out from Oracle or SuccessFactors HXM, all of the vendors are now realizing, oh my God, I have got to open my platform up and I've got to make it a place to go for employees to do all of these different things. As opposed to, I've got a great tool that does this, I've got a great tool that does that, I've got a great tool that does this. You know, the average company, big company, has 120 employee applications, which is just insane.
Yeah, I'll say.
And I understand why. There's all sorts of creative vendors building all sorts of cool tools. I have our company's not that big. We probably have 15 of them.
Mhm.
And somebody always wants to buy another one. And I understand that, but employees aren't always benefited from all of that technology unless somebody can put it all in one place. And so these platforms have to be sort of a single place to go. They have to have data so that we don't have to keep re-logging in and changing context from place to place. They need to have security, obviously. And then they need to have a development environment on top of them so that the HR department and the IT department can customize them and make them really relevant to the workers in our company.